Hey everybody, welcome to the Tesla Life, episode 65 for August 29th, 2018. My name is Russell Frost. I have the good fortune to be your host this week, and with me, as always, is my wingman on this show, my co-host and close personal friend, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and I commend you all for finding us because we've switched channels now.
2 weeks in a row, and
I commend you all. There's 7 people in the chat room already, so I don't know where they came from or how they found us, but you know, what a vote of confidence for you people to be able to be detectives, because we've been just bouncing channels for the past couple weeks. And Russell, we got one more week of this, right?
One more week. Next week, we will be back on What Drives Us channel, on the What Drives Us page. The following week, the week after the 8th, we will be back to the Tesla Life channel, where we will be permanently. So thank you all for following us so far. And thanks to everybody in the chat room for, getting in there and getting on it.
Exactly.
And so likewise, we have a week's worth of news to talk about this week.
That's right. Yeah.
No small feat. Mark, you know what? Why don't you grab the first one and I'll grab the next one.
All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about ZEV credits in California.
Yeah.
Tesla, of course, with this large ramp up of Model 3s, has been accumulating ZEV credits that they normally get for selling an electric vehicle. And they use those ZEV credits for trading with other auto manufacturers that aren't quite up to the amount of credits they need to manufacture cars in the state of California. And what has happened is, of course, with this Model 3 ramp, the ZEV credits have jumped dramatically. 139% they've gone up over the past quarter since the Model 3 ramp has started. And they also see that this, of course, is going to continue, if not accelerate even a little bit further, because they're now producing, tens of thousands of these vehicles are rolling out, every couple weeks. So it's something that is questionable as to how much, I guess, the ZEV credits are going to remain valuable. If you add a whole bunch of quantity to a market, that typically degrades the value of those credits because there are so many that are flooding the market. So Tesla does use this for income. I don't know how much they use it for income at this point, but they certainly had used it in the past.
Yeah.
But this is something that enabled them to spend a few more dollars, put a few bucks in their pocket. I think that this is something that will leave them eventually. They're not going to be depending or caring about this too much. But it is interesting how this as the ramp up occurs, the ZEV credits obviously are following along.
If you look at the list here, you sort of see people in the red down there. And that's just a percentage of change. But I mean, obviously companies like Ram, Dodge, FCA have been huge customers of Tesla's, customers sort of in quotes, because they're buying the ZEV credits they can't generate themselves. Tens of millions of dollars worth. I think, what was the last estimate? I want to say it was $60 million in ZEV credits, which seems crazy. For me, the dangerous part of this is that it's a business model. It's a revenue stream that could go away at legislative fiat at any time. Something our friends in Ontario were super familiar with.
Yes.
So
at the whim of the government, it can all change.
Right. At the whim of the government, boom, the ZEV credit thing disappears, and all of a sudden that revenue stream for Tesla disappears. So that's, in my feelings, the danger of it. And hopefully that won't impact them. Because you know what? They should get credit for this. We can argue about amounts and all of that, but they are producing zero emissions vehicle. And I think there's value in that. I support that credit, especially when you can exchange it with other companies or sell them to other companies that aren't doing that. One argues, well, that just perpetuates those companies polluting. Look, they're going to make what they make. The idea is that that money from those companies from polluting vehicles goes to help support Tesla, which is making zero emissions vehicles, and that's good.
Right. Right. So it's fair trade, right? It's the ability to have a credit that will benefit Tesla financially, as opposed to another company that is not going to be able to make anything EV friendly and to be able to claim a credit themselves. So it's a free marketplace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. You can choose to make these vehicles or not. And if not, you can choose to buy these credits or not.
Or pay the fine.
Or pay the fine. Yes. Pay the man. Well, speaking of paying the man, Inside EVs reports what is essentially a Bloomberg story. And we've talked about this many times. But Bloomberg has, I guess, really the Tesla Model 3 VIN tracker.
Yeah.
Since Tesla does not formally announce sales figures, it's a game that we have to play through registrations and VINs and whatnot. And the Bloomberg VIN tracker, at least thus far, has appeared to be reasonably good picture of where Tesla's at. So what we're looking at is Model 3 production likely exceeding over 6,000 vehicles a week, possibly as high as 7,000, depending on how you look at these VINs. And there's been some legitimate questions about the Bloomberg VIN tracker model, about how short-term spikes can kind of tweak it up a little bit. But the good news is we're seeing the numbers steadily increasing. We're seeing higher and higher numbers, and that's what we want to see.
Right. And I think even last quarter, Bloomberg's model was proven to be about 2 to 3% off. So pretty darn close to what the real numbers that were actually reported, only 2 to 3% off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, again, that's for our purposes, that's good.
Yep. Well, that's all we have to go on, as you mentioned.
Right.
They're not publicizing those numbers. So, we're all anxious to see if they're going to hit those numbers. I'm sure Wall Street is interested if they're going to hit those numbers. Now that another story will come up later in the show, they're more concerned whether or not they're going to hit those numbers. And this is one of the matrices they can use to see if they are going to get there.
I mean, those analysts use metrics like this all the time, unofficial metrics, you know what I mean? Because maybe that information is available. So they have to guess, they have to intuit, they have to infer from what data they can draw.
Exactly.
Our next story, and Mark, I want to talk about this, but I'm going to ask you lots of questions because for some reason, Tesla this week unveiled a new Model S for expanding its mobile repair service. Tesla has said they're going to double the amount of mobile repair vehicles available. And weren't they using Model X's before?
No, they've always been using. It was always using the S, as far as I can remember.
Okay.
They were, of course, retrofitting older Model S's. And I do have a photo of this that I can share.
Thank you for rubbing my nose and how wrong I was. The original Rangers were in like Transit Connects, though, right?
Correct. Yeah, they were.
Nice.
That's a Ford product, right? Is it a Transit?
Yes. Yeah. A Ford gas product. Just
so here they are gutting an S. You can see the panels removed from the doors and the sides. And then they install a kind of a sliding tray that goes on the inside that will allow them to have a couple of different sliding trays that can hold parts and I guess be a bit of a mobile workspace that can be pulled out of the car and be used to work upon when it's sticking out the trunk lid. Okay. So apparently they're going to try to double their mobile service fleet worldwide, and it doesn't specifically say what markets. It just says as a general worldwide. So I don't know if this will be in North America as much as maybe Europe or Australia or other markets, Asia that they're in. But it certainly is something that allows them some flexibility. I know with the rollout that just happened recently in Canada, there are a number of these on the road already. Although they are the vans, we see the gas-powered vans.
Right.
I don't think we've seen. There might have been one picture of a Model S, but most of them have been vans at this point. But they are using those in different far reaches of Canada, away from major metropolitan points.
So while we'll all agree with Tesla that pulling up in a Tesla vehicle is way cooler than pulling up in a Transit Connect or any gas vehicle, the advantage of the Transit Connect was it could carry tires, wheels, and even some body. I swear I've seen them pull like a quarter panel or something out of there. It could carry larger parts.
Correct. Yeah.
Obviously, this has really limited room. So they're talking about maybe a more narrow servicing program with these new Mobile Ranger vehicles.
Right. And maybe they are sending out vehicles based on what they're anticipating the call to be. Sure. So they may send that van out when they know there's a little bit more of a heavy duty thing going on, as opposed to maybe a software update or just a rotation of tires or something along that line.
Which makes total sense. I mean, right? That's again, that's a good thing. If you send the van out for the big stuff, you've got it ready there, and the rest of the time you're driving a Model S, and that's
exactly. And that's exactly what people want to see, right? Like that would be absolutely. That's awesome to see an S pull up to fix your S. Like that's just really cool.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave. The next one's all yours, my friend.
Going to talk a little bit about Jay Leno's garage.
Do we have to?
Apparently
okay, we do.
It was a fairly big story last week.
It was. Well, let's look at Jay's gaping maw of a mouth. There. Hi, Jay.
Yeah, Jay is apparently looking to catch some flies as he's out in a test drive. But last Thursday, the version of Jay Leno's garage was shown, and the back half was about Tesla. And Jay, who owns a Roadster, actually the original Roadster, went to Hawthorne to meet his good buddy Franz, the designer of Tesla. Mm-hmm. And they got together and went through not only the Roadster, but also the Model 3. Took the 3 out for a run on the California streets, actually just behind the airport there. I'm not sure. Is that the Pacific Coast Highway that runs behind the LAX? Yes, I believe it is. I could tell. I've been on that road several times, and I could see that's exactly where they were driving. And they were pressing into the 3, and Jay was quite impressed with how it was performing. And near the end of the segment, he asked about the new Roadster, the next gen. And Franz invited him to, let's go take a look. And they brought him back to Hawthorne again. And there was a beautiful red next-gen Roadster sitting out in the sunshine, ready for them to examine. And, of course, they got in it and did a little bit of a quarter-mile run, or a 0 to 60 run at least, on Tesla property. The Roadster never left Tesla, so they only did the test on Tesla property, and man, did it look impressive launching. I'm looking.
Did you see the segment?
I did.
Okay, so it doesn't look like Jay drove it. It looks like Franz drove it the whole time.
No, Jay was not allowed to drive it.
He was not allowed to drive it. So not on public streets, no Jay Leno behind the wheel.
Correct.
I'm kind of surprised because he's a big deal.
He is a big deal.
I'm surprised they wouldn't give him the wheel.
But is there something insurance-wise, or is there something huge liability to say, you know what, we just can't have anybody else drive it?
We just killed Jay Leno. Probably not the press release that Tesla wants to send out.
So it would be all right if Franz and Jay died together. That would be okay.
Well, I mean, if I don't want to say it would be all right. I just want to say it would probably be a different legal picture than if Jay kills Franz. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So in the segment, of course, they get it all set to go, and then they launch, and of course Jay lets out this scream as they're zipping down the road, and as they're approaching the end, he's going, "I'll buy it! I'll buy it! I'll buy it!"
Oh, I'm sure.
He was very impressed. And as Franz was describing the numbers to him, like a 0 to 60 time of 1.9 seconds, a quarter-mile time of 8.8 seconds, Jay was just laughing his head off at the insane numbers that were being quoted. And he's going, that's a top fuel dragster run, 8.8 seconds. He goes, that's insane. And sure enough, they took it for the run, and Jay was really impressed with the pull that he was getting out of that car.
Oh, how could you not be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be all you could do not to like embarrass yourself physically while in, a car that has that sort of performance specs. I mean, a 1.90 to 60 is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. And then on top of it, the 600 miles of range.
Right. Which
unbelievable. They're still quoting that 600 miles.
Yeah,
I bet you it is. I bet you it's a double packed battery.
Well, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. It is probably a double pack battery, which would make sense and certainly be very doable. I don't think they could just tweak battery chemistry and get that kind of range.
No.
Not with that sort of torque, at least.
Right.
In an efficient EV, they might be able to, but the Roadster is not about efficiency in any way. It's about burning electrons and having a lot of fun.
And it does it well from what we have seen to this point.
Oh, those poor little electrons, mercilessly. Just want to say hi to everybody in the chat room. Thanks very much for coming in and finding us on What Drives Us. We have one more week of this, one more week of exile on the What Drives Us channel. And then not next week's show, but the show after that, we'll be back on our home ground at the Tesla Life channel. So thanks very much for following us.
Now we've got up to 10 that have found us. Even better. It's very good.
It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. It's like they're all stalkers. No, wait. I didn't mean that. I definitely did not mean that. None of you are stalkers. Well, a couple of you might be, but I'm going to leave that out.
We won't get into that.
Yeah, we're not going there. Speaking of analysts, Model 3 productions and wild ass guesses, as the technical Wall Street term goes, Teslarati reported this week that Tesla Model 3 production could hit 65 to 70,000 vehicles in Q3 for 2018. That is a pretty intense guess. We're talking about Romit Shah of the Nomura Instanet. Nomura Instanet. Yes, excuse me. I can't tell if that's Japanese or Russian. I don't know. I'm totally confused. But again, it's nice to see these kind of numbers being thrown around about Teslas, because we're so used to much smaller numbers. So it's nice to see Model 3 jumping up, the production level ramping up. That's a good thing.
Well, what's really great to see is them achieving that 6,000 number that they said they were going to do by the end of August. We've already have reports that they've gone over that, and this type of number bodes well into that number of 6,000 a week as well. So kudos to Tesla and being able to ramp up and keep the sustainable ramp in place.
Right. Now, some of the things I don't appreciate so much in this article are the whole point of Shah's prediction that reaching $400 a share should be no problem. Really?
Why would an analyst put that in there?
Well, it just seems,
kind of self-promoting to say that he's quoting a price that they should be at.
I mean, it's one thing when us on this show talk with great enthusiasm and passion about, $420 a share is not a problem. It's another thing when a Wall Street analyst says it. Allegedly, analysts use numbers and math. we just talk. Well, I mean, maybe Mark uses math. I'm a art school grad. I have no idea what math really is.
No, I can assure you I'm not using math on this show as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, no, I mean, please, you're allowed to, right? And I have to admit, I've never heard of Nomura Instanet.
No, that's not a name that rolls off the tongue or the mind easily. I've not heard of them. Yeah.
Now, it's certainly also, I think it should be mentioned, depending on how it's been reported, the cancellation of taking Tesla private came out this week, and it's mentioned in this article, and how that may or may not affect. I mean, I think the stock is actually still above 300 today, but that's certainly another. It's sort of like we're going to dangle a carrot, and the carrot's gone.
Yeah, and
I didn't mean to dump that on you in surprise, Mark. I'm sorry.
The note that came across on Twitter from Tesla itself was just basically 2 words with the Tesla logo, and the 2 words were "staying public."
Right. Right. Thank you for your articulate.
No drum roll. It was just like, yeah, we're staying public, and that's it. And here's our logo. And then, of course, it was linked to an internal letter that is on the Tesla website for all to see.
Right. Arguably, Elon may have said too much about going to 420 and going private and Saudis and analysts and Wall Street and all that. Maybe a 2-word tweet airs on the other side.
Yeah, they're going on both sides of the spectrum and trying to find a happy medium somewhere.
Somewhere in there. Yeah, you know what? Well, I think this sort of reinforces a theme that I would have with most car companies, which is just make cars. Just make the cars. The rest of us will figure all that other stuff out for you. Just make the cars.
Yeah, that was like you said, it's maybe erring on the side of being light on this one, but let's get back to production.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. If Tesla hits these goals and builds quality cars and gets them out in numbers, the stock will take care of itself.
Yes, it will.
And
Absolutely.
I firmly believe that.
Yes,
firmly. You want me to do this one?
I can introduce you. This is going to be a story from our friend Dr. Evan Fusco, who joins us on many shows, but today is absent. And Mr. Fusco happened to be out doing some sleuthing in Joplin, Missouri, and came up with a few photos of something that we would find interesting on this show.
We don't often go for scoops on this show.
But yet they come to us sometimes.
Sometimes they stumble right into
Mr. Fusco dropped one right in our laps.
I don't like that metaphor. I don't like that turn of words at all. Can we put that a different way?
Mr. Fusco provided us with a great lead.
Thank you, Mr. Coughlin. That was beautifully put, because dropped one in my lap just... That might be the show title, though, right? Is that the show title?
There you go. Yeah.
Evan dropped one. I have to write this down. Chat room, let me know if that's okay. Evan,
yes, chat room. Let us know. Keep us flowing with show titles.
Yeah, thank you. The show titles help, and I like that actually, Mark. It was brilliant. So Evan is at the Joplin Supercharger on the 25th, and I start getting text messages from him. I'm in a car in Dallas, driving around. So I'm not only 1,000 miles away from home. I'm not in my car. It's a long story, but I want to read his text so that you can talk. And Mark, maybe you'll be kind enough to cycle through his images. So here's what Evan sent to us. He said he stumbled into this at the Joplin Supercharger, and it uses a prototype combination charger that's connected to 4 separate standard Tesla superchargers at once. It appears it can use up to 500 kilowatts at a time. Now, Evan wasn't allowed to photograph this. He photographed other things, like this is the drive motor in the electric semi. They wouldn't let him photograph the charging thing, but obviously that was of great interest to us. This happens to be the short range prototype. It only has a 300-mile range, and they were thinking it could charge up to 90% in 30 minutes, given the prototype charging rig that they had. We were talking about kilowatt battery size, which I don't think we have. This is one of the wings on the top of the truck that has cameras built into it all the way around that will eventually be part of the 12 camera suite that will be connected to the interior vision screens so that the driver can see completely all the way around the truck, behind the truck, without the use of mirrors and all of that. So this is mirrors. It's 2018. We can get past mirrors. It's not just a style thing. Backup cameras are hugely more important, and backup sensors are much more useful when you're driving a super big vehicle like this. Obviously, to have those cameras built in is a huge benefit. So, excuse me, not on the top. You can see the camera. Mark, move your cursor. Thank you. There's one wing on one side. Thank you. I have to correct myself. Not on the top. There's one on each side. However, the interior cameras were not active yet. Only not all of them. Some of them were. Apparently, the operators of the vehicle said that the software wasn't quite finished. And again, this is one of 2 prototypes. This is very, very. This isn't even. You don't even use the word production. These are test beds, proof of concept at this point.
And what was kind of cool is in this photo, as it's showing, it's kind of parked sideways in front of a number of superchargers. And Evan had indicated that they're connected by extension cables.
Right.
So they're plugging into 4 separate superchargers with extension cables, which then combine into a single plug that goes into the truck somewhere that we're not allowed to show, or Evan was not allowed to photograph. But interesting that they're using 4 superchargers at once to fuel the truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Let's see. Currently, there's a huge, I think it's an 8 or 12 pin connector they use in the prototype charging. He was really in the charging thing, and that's cool because it's not something we've seen. And the 4 extension cords bring the 4 chargers together, and one goes into the truck. So yeah, is it going to have a different connector than the car? I don't think anybody expected it to be otherwise. It will have a different connector in the truck.
Right.
The pilot of said prototype electric semi, where is it? Here. It says it has full autopilot, but it's not fully enabled.
So they don't want that driver nodding off to sleep yet.
Yeah, I think, and again, this is a test bed vehicle. I'm not disturbed by any of the things that may or may not be working. I'm glad to see them out there driving this thing, though. And what it was doing in Joplin, Missouri, apparently the JB Hunt, which is a large truck distributor office, is not far from there, and they were visiting JB Hunt. Right. Possibly another customer.
Well, the JB Hunt has signed up for these trucks through the reservation system. And there were later photographs in the day of JB Hunt employees getting in line and being able to walk through the cab.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah. So it was, and then apparently after Missouri, it was heading towards Chicago. And it was going to stop in at the offices of UPS.
Oh.
So we got some additional photos of the truck actually driving at UPS. And for those of you who have not seen some of this, please connect to our Twitter at The Tesla Life, and you'll be able to see all this stuff that goes on throughout the week in between our shows.
Absolutely.
We get a ton of stuff that we don't even talk about on the show because, of course, we get a lot of stuff throughout the week that we are posting, and we only take the different tidbits that we feel work on the show. So please join us on Twitter as well. And why not join us on Facebook at the Tesla Life #1, and you can see us on both of those social media platforms.
We coordinated our one very well this week.
Just popped up right at the same time. Boom.
It was like
boomo.
So yeah, hugely important. If you were following us on Twitter, you would have seen this story on Saturday as it happened. Mark would have updated you with the pictures and the details before they actually got to the JB Hunt office.
And there they are at JB Hunt. We get a picture of a nice black and white artful picture someone has taken.
Someone with a man bun too.
Of
nice. And I think he's wearing a skirt. Wow. I had no idea they were that trendy.
You didn't know they were that trendy.
I had no idea.
In Joplin, Missouri.
Good for them. Cheers.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous truck. And again, taken from our Twitter feed. So
there you go.
There you go. Another reason. So the Tesla Life, at the Tesla Life on Twitter. Give us a check out there. What do we do with it? I know this isn't the last story, right?
It is. We've got a really a small amount this week that's okay. For show.
That's okay. And I've been kind of efficient running through these. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We could be more chatty. We could just talk about like hockey or something at the end of the show. Would that be okay?
Or we could show a few shots of it at UPS. I've got a few
Oh,
of
do you
those
have
photos
UPS?
I can throw up on the screen.
You know, enough with dropping one in my lap and throwing up on the screen. You're out of control, Coughlin. What's your deal?
Here we go.
All of a sudden, I'm like doing a show with a sophomore. Look at that. There's a happy JB Hunt employee.
You can see them, like stand up, obviously, stand up room. You've got like 3 people already in the cab that are like motioning their way through the cab and out the other side. But interesting to see.
Wow, look at the line.
They certainly got people to come out and take a look, didn't they?
Look at the line.
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice. So there's a trailer on it at this point.
Correct.
Interesting. Evan had said that there's one seat, one regular driver's seat in the cab, and then there's just a little jump seat for like a
fold-up jump. Right.
Seat. So again, what is that? And that's the prototype. There could be a velour couch in the next version. We don't know, but that's what they're driving with now.
And there's that pass through. You can see you can just come in one end and pop out the other. So you've got a bunch of people that are cycling through the truck, checking it out. And there was even a video that we had posted at UPS where the truck was videoed coming up the UPS headquarters. And I'm not sure if this is UPS or if this is JB Hunt. I'm not sure.
Oh, if only we could zoom in and look at his name badge.
Yeah.
Interesting. So California plate, no surprise. Did they add the mirrors, or did I miss that in the picture at the supercharger?
No, you missed it. They were there. They were
Okay.
just nicely disguised in black, and they were hard to see against the side of the window.
Wow.
But,
maybe I should. I need a nap or something.
Maybe. But look at the crazy windshield wiper.
The one big windshield wiper.
Like I can understand, at speed you would need something that's heavy duty. But man, does that ever look bizarre?
Well, it goes along with that, like atomic bomb proof glass and everything else, again, a prototype, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
I'm guessing that Tesla engineers and designers have probably learned from the Model X experience not to try things like falcon wing doors and excessively over-engineered things. Especially in a work vehicle, right? And we know that Tesla's got it because when we did the reveal on the first truck, there was a lot of features that were intentionally designed to extend work life. The windshield was heavy duty because they said windshields are constantly an issue that takes trucks off the road.
That's right. Yep.
So this is super important. As a business vehicle, as a commercial vehicle, it needs to be in service. It needs to be working all the time, earning money.
Right.
It's not even just the cost of parts and repairing them. It's the downtime where you're not making money with it.
Yeah. So having that upgraded glass that will allow them not to have the cracks and replacements that are required with traditional trucks.
Right. And all those old-fashioned trucks will be throwing beer bottles at the Tesla as they pass them on hills going 65 miles an hour while the other trucks are creeping up the hill at 18
up the incline. Yes. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Or zoom past, regenning down the grapevine while the other trucks are just in air brake mode, hoping not to run into that truck stop thing.
Or, ruining their brakes or chewing up those pads as the Tesla is doing the regen and just gaining energy from coming down the hill.
Right.
A big difference.
It sounds kind of smug, but it's a superior design. And I acknowledge that. It's wonderful.
And the one thing that we don't know, that no one has come up with yet, is in this photo of the front of the truck, is whether or not this is a frunk. Is there an actual usable frunk under the truck, as there are in almost all of their Tesla vehicles?
Maybe we should tweet to Elon. Elon, we heard Jimmy Hoffa is in the frunk of the silver semi. Is it true?
Union boss is buried in the frunk of one of the cars. Yes.
Right. Exactly. Like, okay.
Right.
Come on. Right. Confirm or deny, Elon. Confirm or deny. I don't know what to say, but yeah. Hey, the truck is exciting.
Yep.
I don't
And there was a
know.
lot of news about it this week for some reason. There was, well, it started with Evan spotting it before it arrived at its first spot. There was talk before Evan's tweet to us, or before Evan's alert, that it was in New Mexico. So we didn't hear anything about where its stop was in New Mexico, but it made its way up from New Mexico towards Missouri and then ultimately to Chicago. And then we haven't heard anything since it's left Chicago. We don't know where it is as well.
It's like we just need to put a GPS tag on it.
Yeah, like
just somebody.
Evan had the opportunity. It looked like
Right?
that driver was going for a coffee. He could have just slapped a GPS tag on it.
What the heck?
Talk about an exclusive. We could report on it every day.
That would end like within an hour. We'd report on it twice. We'd drop a couple pins on a Google map, and Tesla
And that would be it. Tesla would be all over that.
Yeah, they'd be like, no, you're going to stop that right now.
The truck we'll be put in quarantine until it stops giving out radio signals.
Right. We're sending your GPS tag back in a box with a horse's head.
And a note from their lawyer.
Right.
Yes.
No, that's the horse's head is the note. Definitely is the note.
Well, our next and last story of the week is about the Gigafactory.
Yay.
So the Gigafactory 1, which of course is the Nevada Gigafactory, they've started to notice that the solar roof on that particular Gigafactory is starting to grow.
The last time we reported this, there were just those.
There were just a couple.
Now
That's right.
there are these.
Exactly. So I got a larger photo I can share.
Okay, well, let me stop then. And there we go. Thank you.
So they're starting to add to it. And maybe you can tell me, Russell, is there any significance to the different sizes? Or is this just basically what's on the roof and what they have to work around?
You're talking about the different size arrays? Because all the panels are the same size.
Right.
No difference at all. It's literally just what they, how they're working within the structure of the roof.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got those little black dots and such. These are impediments to putting something up. So these would be like exhaust ports or other things that are coming out through the roof itself.
HVAC, some kind of, perhaps production vents of some kind. Who knows? All kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the original pictures of this with this beautiful sheen of solar panels.
Right.
That was unbroken. I just kind of went.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, huh? Yeah.
Not going to happen. Well, I mean, sure, if you specifically design a building that has no impediments on the roof whatsoever.
Right.
The other thing I would add, which I think most people may or may not take into consideration, ever picked up a solar panel?
No.
They're heavy. They're very heavy. They're not light. So you want to judiciously place these on a roof structure. And I'm sure the Gigafactory is well built and it's not an issue. I'm not saying there's a safety issue here, but the reason sometimes why they're spread out is to distribute the weight.
Right.
And
then you've got those pathways, I would assume, so you can get to maybe inverters that blow or other things that you have to repair on a possible solar panel array.
Right. Well, usually the stuff that Tesla uses isn't built into the panel. They generally don't deploy with microinverters. They deploy with another device whose name has completely escaped my brain. I want to say it's like an equalizer or a leveler. It's sort of a hybrid of a microinverter, and it works very well. And it's not attached to the bottom of the panel.
Okay.
So
I'm thinking of like residential ones that I see around here. And
right.
They all seem to have those inverters hanging underneath them or at the end of a row or something.
Well, there's like a little puck that's attached to the bottom of the panel, and that just gathers the wiring from the photocells and then puts it into a cable, and those cables are cross-connected. And sometimes inverters are attached to the structure underneath. It just depends on the company and the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing with this story that kind of is linked to it is that Elon responded to a Twitter post of a gentleman that indicated or seemed to indicate that, you know what, car factories, no one considers the amount of energy that has to go into them to produce the cars as well. Everybody just talks about what the car comes out, but there's a great amount of energy that's used, fossil fuel and whatever, to produce these cars in a factory. And Elon, of course, that responded that may have used to be the way that it had been done, but as Gigafactory 1 has shown, this will be a self-sufficient energy source coming from a renewable source that will make all of these cars, or in this case, batteries.
Right. Absolutely. We'll see if Tesla hits that goal of making the Gigafactory 100% renewable by the end of next year. Hopefully they will. Elon has talked about it since he announced the Gigafactory, and it certainly, at least they're working on that.
And they're going to be not just using the roof ones, but apparently there's going to be tracking units that will be mounted to the hillside outside of the factory walls itself.
Ground mounts? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, they mentioned some ground mounts that are going to be, I guess, tracking units.
That's so almost not Tesla. Interesting. Well, I mean, why not? And again, I don't know that you'd be able to generate the electricity necessary. I don't know that just the roof of the Gigafactory would be enough. So it doesn't surprise me in the sense that additional ground-mounted stuff would certainly help and enhance that, because guess what? That factory takes a lot of energy. Even though they're talking about 1.9 million square foot right now, eventually almost 5 million square feet, extra arrays on the hills there would certainly be beneficial as well.
Right, right.
What was it like? I want to say, how many megawatts? I have to look the
it was 700 or 7. I think it was 700.
Oh gosh, where did I read that?
Gigawatt, megawatt, 70 megawatt.
I'll take your word for it.
It was 7 something. Definitely 7 something. 70 or 700. 70 or 700. Maybe someone in Twitter would, or on the chat room would know.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead, chat room.
Yep. Let us know.
Let me know. But yeah, so again, the ground mounts, certainly a very reasonable and way to augment the roof mounted stuff for a factory that is going to be 100% renewable, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go. It looks like somebody took these with, like, I'm hoping it's on a hang glider and it's like a little superstructure here, you know?
Well, they can't go over with a motorized vehicle because they get alerted. So they don't want to be shot down.
Wait, I didn't. Yeah. There's a sniper on the roof of the Gigafactory at all times looking for drones. Yeah, I've recently run into some drone flying rules, so I understand.
Yes, indeed.
You can't just put those suckers up anywhere you want anymore.
No, you can't. Not anymore, anyways.
Yeah, you will run afoul of the law.
Transportation and Safety Board comes down on you pretty hard, I would imagine.
I want you to know, though, that my little droney is now officially FAA licensed.
Ah, very good.
I am a legal drone operator.
Look at that.
Which kind of makes me sad that I had to say that in public. That's just pathetic. But here I am anyway.
Well, you don't even know this, Russell, but I do have one last thing to show.
Oh.
Last week, we talked about our group going out to an event at the Waterloo Region Airport.
Excellent.
And we had the fortunate ability to get a photo of our vehicles parked beside a vintage warplane. So I'll just pull up an actual photo of my Tesla. Actually, my wife's Tesla.
I didn't say it.
You weren't going to go there, were you? You were not going to go there.
Yeah. Go. Oh wow! What is that?
That is a
Zero.
That is a MiG-15 Russian aircraft.
A MiG-15. Nice.
Yes. Now,
wow.
The question is, how on earth did Waterloo, Ontario get a hold of a MiG-15? You would think that, maybe the Russians would smash them, or did they need the cash that bad that they were selling it to anyone that would buy them?
Yes. And why was it there? It lives at the Waterloo Regional Airport.
One of the there's a warplane heritage museum in Hamilton.
Okay.
And there's also a group of restorers that work at the Waterloo Airport, and they often have these vintage craft from different countries that they put back to flying order and put on display and take them for flights at different occasions throughout the year. So this is one of the planes that have been restored to flying version.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. It was not just that. There were many planes, but they had this one lined up so that when your car came in, you could get a picture beside the MiG, and everyone got their picture beside it who wanted to. So it was kind of cool.
Where's your wife?
She decided not to come to this event.
She didn't come. I was going to say, I expect you, like, she's sitting in the MiG and we can't see her. Something else. But
Nope.
But that's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that was kind of fun. It was a great event. It was fun until the rain came down at about 1 p.m. But until that point, we had a ton of people with interest and questions about EVs, and we were able to talk to many members of the public that had interest in the subject. So it was a great day, even though it was shortened somewhat by the weather.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice. Well, thanks for that. Thanks for I'm still looking at the MiG picture. Like, I don't have I wish I had a good comeback. I don't. I think it's still Evan dropping in my lap. I just want to say thanks to everybody in the chat room. Hockey Day, JT24, Bill, Catherine, David, Derek. I don't see Lee. There's Lee.
David Lee.
Of course, Lee, our theme music composer and performer. I say Catherine.
Okay. All right. Can't miss Catherine.
Yeah. No. I'm okay. Now you're embarrassing me. Okay. That's the way you're going to be. You're playing me badly here. So let's see. I don't have any shout outs other than to say, hey, thanks to everybody in the chat room for coming in and saying hi and hanging out with us for yet another episode. Next week, the last week on What Drives Us. Once again, thank you for your patience and your perseverance coming over to a totally new and alien channel. It's the same show, though.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, please go back to our regular channel if you haven't already. The one that you haven't watched the show on now for 2 straight weeks. Go to that channel.
You're hurting me, Mark.
Press the subscribe button and help us out with our numbers. We're getting closer to that 500 goal, and we would certainly love your help to get over that goal and continue along.
Please encourage your friends, your family, your pets, anyone that has a Google.
And if your pet doesn't have one yet, sign them up for a Google account.
Now's the time to sign up the little puppy or the kitty and like the show.
There you go.
Costs nothing. MiG and Model 3. Oh, okay. Hockey Day's making me read that. He's not making me, but there it is anyway. That's all I got. Mark, how about anything else from you?
I think that's all. I think that's all for this week. Yeah.
Wow.
So let's get back to collecting some more, and we'll see you again next week.
Absolutely. Check in next week and find out what is going on in the Tesla life. Oh, yeah. See ya.
Thanks, Lee.
And thank you, Lee, of course, for the theme music. I mentioned that already, but I definitely need a nap before the show. I can tell. See you next week, everybody. Thanks.